Where did you get that scar? The billionaire's voice cut through the champagne chatter like a blade. Every conversation stopped. Crystal glasses froze midair. Zara Johnson, a 25-year-old dark-skinned waitress in a borrowed uniform, stared at Alexander Blackwood, the real estate mogul worth $3 billion. I don't remember, sir, she whispered, her voice barely audible. The Plaza Hotel's charity gala buzzed with Manhattan's elite, each plate costing $10,000. Outside, the homeless froze on the streets while the rich discussed tax shelters and art auctions. Zara weaved between tables like a ghost, invisible help serving champagne, worth more than her monthly rent. But now, every eye was on her. The crescent-shaped scar on her left wrist shimmered under the chandeliers. Alexander's steel-gray eyes locked onto it, his expression shifting from confusion to disbelief. That mark, it was identical to the one his daughter had. His missing daughter, the one who vanished 20 years ago. That's impossible, he breathed. She's dead. But Zara stood before him, alive. What secret could turn a powerful man's world upside down in seconds? Hours later, his words still echoed in her head as she walked through Queens at midnight. Her feet ached in worn sneakers. She's dead. The phrase repeated like a haunting melody. Who was dead? And why did he look at her as if he'd seen a ghost? Zara's tiny studio apartment told her story in fragments. Foster family photos on a crooked shelf. Different faces, different homes, endless rejections. None showed her before age 5. That's when they found her wandering J Street subway station, clutching a torn teddy bear, speaking only fragments about Daddy's garden. The system gave her a name, Zara, meaning blooming flower, because she couldn't remember her real one. 20 years later, she was still blooming in the concrete jungle. Day shifts at Murphy's Diner, night classes at Hunter College, weekend catering gigs for people who didn't even see her face. Just another quiet story in New York's endless shuffle. But tonight felt different. That man's reaction to her scar wasn't random. Zara opened her laptop and typed Alexander Blackwood. Headlines flooded the screen. Real estate empire built on affordable housing destruction. Blackwood Industries, the king of gentrification. Then she found one that made her heart stop. Billionaire still mourns missing daughter 20 years later. The article showed a younger Alexander holding a framed photo. A little girl with dark curls and bright eyes. On her left wrist was the same crescent-shaped scar. Lily Blackwood. Vanished September 15, 2003. Zara was found October 12, 2003. The timeline matched perfectly. No, she whispered, but her hands trembled as she scrolled. Every detail fit, the age, the scar, the timing. These weren't coincidences. They were breadcrumbs leading to an impossible truth. Could she really be Lily Blackwood? Zara crawled under her bed, pulling out a showbox of foster records. 20 years of bureaucratic lies she never cared to question. Now they felt different, dangerous. She remembered an old caseworker, Mrs. Patterson, who once called her the curious one. Retired now, living somewhere in Brooklyn. Maybe she knew something. Zara searched her number in the white pages. Hello, a gravelly voice answered. Mrs. Patterson, it's Zara Johnson. From the system. A long pause. Child, it's midnight. What's wrong? I need to know where I came from. Really came from. Silence again. Then the woman sighed. Some doors shouldn't be opened, honey. Please. I found something about a missing girl. I need the truth. Meet me tomorrow. Prospect Park, noon. And Zara. Her voice softened. Be careful who you trust with this. The line went dead. Zara stared at the photo of Lily Blackwood until her eyes burned. Same bone structure. Same stubborn chin. Even the way the girl tilted her head matched her reflection. If she was Lily, why didn't she remember? Rich kids didn't just vanish into foster care. Someone took her, and someone erased her. And if that someone discovered she was alive, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Stop digging, or join the others who got too close. Zara's blood froze. She locked her doors, pulled her curtains shut, but sleep never came. Morning arrived gray and heavy. Prospect Park stretched quiet under a pale sky. Joggers and dog walkers passed by, unaware of the storm building in Zara's mind. Mrs. Patterson sat on their usual bench, feeding pigeons from a paper bag, You always were too curious for your own good," she said without looking up. "Tell me the truth," Zara urged. Mrs. Patterson's hands shook as she pulled out a worn manila envelope. "I kept copies. Illegal, but I knew someday you'd come asking." She handed over papers, intake reports, medical notes, police statements. "Found wandering, severe trauma, selective amnesia, no identification." But Mrs. Patterson leaned closer. "Here's what never made the official file." She showed a small photograph, a garden filled with roses, a fountain in the center, a massive house in the background. On the back, written in a child's shaky handwriting, "Daddy's garden." Zara's hands trembled. She'd dreamed of that garden her whole life, thinking it was just imagination. "There's more," Mrs. Patterson said quietly. "The detective who found you, Rodriguez." She never believed the story. Said someone interfered, high up. The kind of interference that makes missing cases disappear. What kind of interference? The kind that moves files, transfers witnesses, and buries evidence. Mrs. Patterson stood. "Detective Isabella Rodriguez. She's still looking for answers. If you're really that missing girl, powerful people might still want you gone." She pressed a business card into Zara's hand. "Call her from a burner phone. Trust no one else." Then she walked away, blending into the morning crowd. Zara sat frozen, clutching the photo of the garden. Her search for identity had just turned into a fight for survival. 3 days later, in Spanish Harlem, she sat in a small cafe. Café Luna, waiting for Detective Rodriguez. 3 sleepless nights wondering if she was Lily Blackwood or just a lost girl chasing ghosts. Rodriguez entered with the sharp eyes of someone who'd seen too much. Mid-40s, streaks of gray in her black hair, wearing a detective's calm-like armor. She slid into the booth. "You have her bone structure," she said immediately. "Same stubborn chin. I've been waiting 20 years for this call." "You think I'm her, Lily Blackwood?" Zara asked. "I know you are," Rodriguez replied, placing a worn case file on the table. "But knowing and proving are different things, especially when powerful people buried the truth." She opened the file. Crime scene photos, witness statements, dates from September 2003. Lily disappeared during her birthday party, Rodriguez said. 50 guests, but nobody saw anything. Except one, David Miller. "Who's that?" "The groundskeeper. The last person to see Lily alive." She pulled out a mugshot, a weathered face with cold eyes. "He worked for the Blackwoods 6 months before she vanished." His story changed 3 times. First, she was playing alone in the garden. Then, with other kids. Finally, he said he never saw her that day. Rodriguez leaned closer. "You know what I think? He knows exactly what happened." Zara studied the crime scene photos, the massive gardens, the fountain, the roses. It was the same garden from her dreams. "Where's Miller now?" "That's where it gets interesting," Rodriguez said, pulling bank statements. Before Lily disappeared, the Blackwood accountant discovered theft, forged invoices, missing cash. Miller had access. Alexander planned to confront him that week. Zara's heart pounded. So he took Lily to cover it up. Maybe, but the case was federalized. The FBI took over, claimed interstate kidnapping. "I was transferred within weeks." Rodriguez showed papers stamped with government seals. Someone wanted this buried. She tapped her timeline. Theft discovered September 14th. Lily vanished September 15th. FBI takeover September 18th. "They covered it up," Zara whispered. "They tried," Rodriguez said grimly, "but I kept copies, including Miller's last known address." She looked Zara straight in the eye. "David Miller is alive, living in Florida under a new name. It's time we paid him a visit." Dr. Sarah Kim's lab sat inside a converted warehouse in Queens, walls white as bone, machines humming quietly, reading truth from strands of DNA. While they waited for results, Rodriguez revealed more disturbing details. "Miller didn't work alone," she said, eyes scanning her notes. "Moving a kidnapped rich kid takes connections, safe houses, fake documents, dirty officials." She pulled out a hand-drawn network chart connected by red strings. Social workers, judges, placement officers, all tied to suspicious adoptions. "It's bigger than just you, Zara. This was an organized network." Zara's stomach tightened. "You think there are more kids like me?" I don't think, Rodriguez said. I know. 3 days later, Dr. Kim called. Her voice shook with emotion. It's a 99.7% match. Zara Johnson is Lily Blackwood. The words hit like thunder. 20 years of confusion, answered in a single sentence. But the euphoria faded quickly. If she was Lily Blackwood, that meant David Miller had kidnapped her, erased her while her father mourned a child still alive. Dr. Kim wasn't finished. The DNA also shows chemical markers, she added. Signs of trauma-induced memory suppression. Someone used drugs, possibly Rohypnol, to wipe your memories before placing you in foster care. Zara's breath caught. They drugged me to forget. Whoever did this, Dr. Kim continued, was a professional. Someone wanted your past erased completely. That night, under the glowing Manhattan skyline, Zara met Rodriguez again at Brooklyn Bridge Park. The detective stood by the water, eyes reflecting the city lights. Now we go to Florida, Rodriguez said. We confront Miller with the DNA evidence. He's the key to everything. But she'd been digging deeper. Miller's been getting monthly payments. $500, same date every month for 20 years. Either he's being paid to stay silent or to keep paying someone else. Hush money, Zara guessed. Rodriguez nodded grimly. Either way, it means this didn't end when you were taken. That night, they booked flights to Tampa. As Zara packed her few belongings, she found her childhood drawing of Daddy's garden. She folded it gently into her bag. 20 years later, she was finally going home. But before she could reclaim her past, she had to face the man who stole it. The next morning, their plane cut through storm clouds. Below them, New York shrank to scattered lights. Somewhere in that glowing maze, Alexander Blackwood still searched for the daughter flying toward him without knowing it. But as they descended through Florida's sunshine, a man across the terminal photographed them quietly and sent an encrypted message. They found Miller. Activate contingency. Tampa's humidity hit like betrayal, thick and suffocating. The Sunset Manor retirement community sprawled across manicured lawns, peaceful and sterile, hiding monsters behind rose gardens and shuffleboard courts. Zara's heartbeat pounded as they approached the maintenance office. 20 years of stolen memories were about to collide with the man who erased them. David Miller looked smaller than his mugshot, gray-haired now, wearing a faded uniform that screamed harmless handyman. But his eyes, still calculating. Rodriguez flashed her badge. Daniel Morrison, she said sharply. We need to talk. His coffee cup slipped from his hands, shattering on the floor. His face drained of color. Detective Rodriguez, I thought you retired. Some cases never retire, David. Or should I call you Daniel? The room went silent except for the hum of air conditioning. Then Zara stepped into view. Miller's reaction was instant, raw fear. He stumbled back, knocking over a tool cart. That's impossible, he whispered, staring at her scar. She's supposed to be dead. They promised me she was dead. Who promised you? Rodriguez demanded. Miller froze. His hands trembled. I don't know what you're talking about. Rodriguez slammed a case file onto his desk. Lily Blackwood, September 15, 2003. Your last day at the Blackwood estate. She spread crime scene photos across the desk. The same garden where he'd said Lily drowned. Lies, every one of them. I didn't hurt her, Miller insisted. She wandered off during the party. Kids do that. Then explain these. Rodriguez held up the bank statements, the monthly money orders. $500 every month for 20 years. That's $120,000. Care to explain that? Miller's face collapsed. His quiet retirement, his false identity, his new life, all built on blood money. You don't understand, he stammered. I was under pressure, then enlighten us. He looked at Zara again, studying her face. You really don't remember, do you? Rosa did her job well. Who's Rosa? Rodriguez snapped. My sister, Rosa Miller. The name fell like a confession. She ran a placement service, he continued, for families who couldn't adopt legally. She built a network. Kids for cash. A market. You sold me, Zara whispered. You sold a 5-year-old girl. It wasn't supposed to be permanent, Miller said, his voice cracking. Rosa said you'd go to a good family. Better than staying with Alexander after. After what? Rodriguez pressed. After he found out about the money I stole. Miller's confession spilled like poison. I needed time to disappear. Taking Lily was supposed to distract him, buy me a few days. Rosa was supposed to hide her for a week, then return her safely. Make it look random. But when I came back, she said you'd been moved, sold to another family. Zara's heart ached. She wasn't kidnapped for ransom. She was collateral damage in a thief's escape plan. Where was I during that week? She asked. Miller's voice shook. Rosa had safe houses for kids waiting for placement. But some families, he swallowed hard. They weren't good people. When I found out, I tried to get you back. You're lying, Zara said coldly. I'm not. Check the money orders. They weren't hush money. They were search money. I've been trying to find you. He opened a worn notebook, pages filled with names, phone numbers, dead-end leads. 20 years. Every month. Every dollar I could spare. Rodriguez examined the notes. It was real. Miller looked at Zara, eyes pleading. Are you okay? Did they treat you well? The question hit her like a slap. 20 years of foster homes, abuse, hunger, and loneliness. I'm alive, she said simply. Rodriguez had been recording everything on her phone. His confession. His knowledge of the trafficking network. Enough to put him away for life. But she wasn't done. Who federalized the case? Who shut down my investigation? Miller's face drained again. I can't tell you that. They'll kill me. Who? Rodriguez demanded. Miller's eyes darted toward the window. Rosa's partners, the real power. Judges, politicians, rich families who bought kids. They've been doing this for decades. Name's David. But before he could answer, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He read the text, and his face went pale. We know where you are. Clean this up, or we will. Rodriguez stiffened. It's too late. Through the office window, Zara saw two men in dark suits walking toward the building, moving like trained professionals. Back door, Rodriguez hissed. But Miller grabbed Zara's arm. Listen to me. Don't trust anyone in the system. Judges, FBI, social workers, they're all compromised. If you want to expose this, go to the media. Who runs it? Who's at the top? Zara asked. Miller's voice dropped. Richmond Sterling. Lawyer in D.C. He's been placing children for powerful clients for 30 years. The office door exploded open. Two armed men burst in, weapons drawn. David Miller, one barked, "You're coming with us." Gunfire erupted before anyone could move. The quiet retirement home turned into a war zone. Gunfire shattered the quiet Florida afternoon. Elderly residents screamed as bullets tore through the walls of Sunset Manor. Rodriguez shoved Zara behind a heavy desk while splinters and drywall flew everywhere. This way, Miller yelled, pulling open a narrow door hidden behind a filing cabinet. Maintenance tunnel. They crawled through the darkness as chaos exploded above them. The air was thick with dust and fear. Pipes dripped overhead, the metal echoing like heartbeats. Behind them, boots thundered through the office, methodical, professional. Zara's knees scraped against the concrete. Why are you helping us? She gasped. Because I've been running from these people for 20 years, Miller panted. Maybe it's time to stop. The tunnel stretched endlessly beneath the building, lined with electrical wires and dripping conduits. Voices and gunfire echoed faintly behind them, the sound of the world collapsing. Finally, they pushed through a rusted grate and stumbled into a drainage canal behind the facility. The Florida sun hit them like fire. Sirens wailed in the distance, not rescue sirens, but something darker. Rodriguez pointed toward the parking lot. My car, over there. They sprinted across open ground, bullets snapping through the air. Rodriguez's rental car roared to life just as black SUVs came screeching around the corner. Drive, Miller shouted. She slammed the accelerator, tires screaming onto Highway 75. In the rearview mirror, 3 SUVs followed, sleek, black, and moving in perfect formation. They're not cops, Zara whispered. No, Rodriguez said grimly. They're hunters. The speedometer climbed past 90. The SUVs didn't try to ram them. They herded them, forcing them down a specific route. They're steering us, Rodriguez realized, toward somewhere quiet. Somewhere they can make it look like an accident. Miller's phone buzzed. Dozens of missed calls, all from unknown numbers. Sterling won't leave witnesses, he muttered. Not this time. The highway stretched endlessly ahead, gray and empty. Strip malls and billboards blurred past in the blazing sun. "Tell us everything," Zara demanded. "All of it, now." Miller's voice trembled. Rose's network wasn't just for adoptions. It was an entire system, selling children to the rich, babies for couples who couldn't adopt, teenagers for worse things, labor, exploitation, trafficking, anything with a price tag. Rodriguez's hands clenched around the wheel. "How many kids?" "Hundreds," Miller said. "Over 30 years. Rosa kept records, names, buyers, payments. Some kids sold for $50,000. Others, $500,000, depending on age, race, appearance." Zara covered her mouth, horrified. The SUVs closed in. Rodriguez spotted a construction zone ahead, orange cones, heavy machinery, concrete barriers. A perfect ambush site. "Hold on," she shouted. She jerked the wheel hard, cutting across the median into oncoming traffic. Horns blared. 18-wheelers screeched as she weaved between them. The pursuing SUVs followed, but chaos slowed them down. "There," Miller pointed ahead. "Truck stop. Cameras, people." Rodriguez swerved into the parking lot, tires screeching. She parked between two massive semis, using them as cover. The air smelled of diesel and sweat. She pulled out her phone. No signal. "They're jamming us," she said. "We're on our own." Miller reached into his pocket and pulled out an old photograph. Two little girls in a garden, holding hands and laughing. Zara stared at it. Her heart stopped. The second girl was her mirror image. "Who is that?" she whispered. "Your twin sister," Miller said quietly. The world tilted. "That's impossible," Zara said. "I would remember. Rosa separated you right after birth," Miller explained. "It was standard practice for her, easier to hide twins in different families. More profit, less trace." Rodriguez's jaw clenched. "Alexander never knew?" "No," Miller said. "The birth records were falsified. The twins, you and Emma, were the center of something much bigger. The Blackwoods couldn't have children. The pregnancy was fake. You two were bought from a surrogate." Zara's stomach turned. "Bought?" Miller nodded, shame written all over his face. "You were supposed to secure an inheritance. If anyone discovered the truth, Alexander's fortune would crumble. So when you disappeared, powerful people panicked. Sterling made it look like a kidnapping to protect his clients." Rodriguez's voice was hard. "So the Blackwood's daughter wasn't just a child, she was evidence of fraud." "Exactly," Miller said. "And Sterling's been protecting that lie for 20 years. Who was our real mother?" Zara whispered. "I don't know," Miller said sadly. "Rosa never told me. But Sterling made sure she couldn't talk. Car accident, 2004, through the truck stop windows." Zara saw 6 men in tactical gear spreading out. Automatic weapons, earpieces. "They're not arresting anyone," Rodriguez said. Miller reached into his jacket and pulled out a small flash drive. "Rose's backup files. Every client, every child, every transaction. I kept it as insurance." He handed it to Rodriguez. "It's everything." She plugged it into her laptop. Files filled the screen, ledgers, adoption records, payments, photographs. The evidence was undeniable. Then Zara saw a name that made her blood run cold. Emma Blackwood, adopted 2003. Rodriguez scrolled down. Adopted by Victoria Sterling, Richmond Sterling's wife. The realization hit like a knife. Emma, her twin, had been raised by the man behind everything. Zara could barely speak. "She's been living with him. The man who destroyed our family." Rodriguez's voice trembled. "She grew up calling your kidnapper Dad. That's why they can't let you live," Miller said. "If Emma ever finds out the truth, she'll turn against them." Rodriguez's radio crackled, intercepted chatter. "Targets acquired. Prepare to neutralize. Back exit," she hissed. They slipped through the rear door, running into the service alley. But more armed men were waiting. They were surrounded. "This is it," Miller breathed. Then a black limousine pulled up. Doors opened, and Alexander Blackwood stepped out flanked by his own private security. His steel gray eyes locked on Zara's face. Time seemed to stop. For 20 years he'd searched for his daughter, and now she stood before him. "Let them go," Alexander commanded Sterling's men. His voice thundered with authority. The team leader hesitated, hand on his earpiece. Sterling's voice came faintly through. "Mr. Blackwood isn't part of the operation. Proceed. I don't care about your orders." Alexander barked. "That's my daughter." The air crackled with tension. Alexander's security fanned out, weapons drawn. Sterling's agents raised their rifles in response. Two worlds collided, a grieving father and a corrupt empire, staring down gun barrels in a truck stop parking lot. Truck drivers ran for cover as sirens wailed and engines roared. "How did you find us?" Rodriguez shouted over the chaos. Alexander didn't take his eyes off Zara. "I've been tracking any investigation into Lily's disappearance for 20 years, he said. "Every database, every lead. When you accessed the files, it triggered alerts across multiple agencies." "You knew about the conspiracy?" Rodriguez asked. "I suspected," Alexander replied. "I found patterns, missing children from wealthy families, fake adoption agencies. But seeing her," his voice broke. "Now there's no doubt." He looked at Zara, tears shining in his eyes. "You're my daughter. You have your mother's eyes." Before anyone could speak, Rodriguez's phone buzzed with a message that made her blood run cold. "Dad, they're moving Emma tonight. Private jet to Prague. Come alone if you want to save her. R.S. Sterling had her twin, and he was using her as bait." Alexander read the message, his face turning pale. "Emma," he whispered. "There's another daughter." Miller handed him the old photo. Two little girls in a garden, mirror images of each other. "She doesn't know she's stolen," he said. "Sterling's wife raised her as their own for 20 years. She thinks Richmond Sterling is her father." The cruelest twist of all. While Alexander mourned one lost daughter, another grew up calling his enemy daddy. "We need to expose everything," Rodriguez said, already opening her laptop. "Media, law enforcement, Congress, blow this wide open before Sterling disappears." Her fingers flew across the keyboard, uploading Rose's files to secure servers. Names, records, payment logs. 30 years of child trafficking and political corruption spread like wildfire. Within minutes, Rodriguez's phone exploded with calls. CNN, The Washington Post, 60 Minutes. Every major outlet wanted confirmation. "This is Rebecca Martinez from CNN," one reporter said. "We're reviewing files showing a D.C. lawyer connected to child trafficking. Can you confirm?" "Every word," Rodriguez said. "And I have witnesses ready to testify." But Sterling struck back fast. News networks received court injunctions, social media platforms crashed mysteriously, and government databases went offline for maintenance. "He's using his connections," Alexander growled. "Judges, senators, tech executives, half of Washington owes him favors." Rodriguez clicked open another file from Rose's drive, a list of clients. The names read like a roll call of American power. Senator Patricia Williams, she read. 3 adoptions from Rose's agencies. Judge Harold Morrison, 2. FBI Director Thomas Washington, 1. Each child traced back to a family that once tried to expose corruption. "No wonder the case was shut down," she said. "Sterling didn't just traffic children. He placed them to control people, a web of blackmail that runs this country." Alexander's head of security approached quickly. "Sir, we intercepted federal communications. The Justice Department is preparing arrest warrants for you." "On what charges?" Alexander demanded. "Terrorism, kidnapping, conspiracy. They're claiming you and Rodriguez are running a trafficking ring to discredit adoption agencies." Rodriguez laughed bitterly. "He's flipping the story, turning victims into criminals." But she had prepared for this. From her jacket, she pulled another flash drive. "My own records, 20 years of off-book investigation. Every piece of evidence they destroyed, I kept." Her files detailed patterns, missing children across 12 states, financial links to Sterling's firm, medical reports showing drugs used to suppress memory. "We go public everywhere," she said. "Foreign media too. He can't silence the world." Alexander nodded. "I'll use my company's contacts overseas. London, Tokyo, Sydney." The story detonated across global networks. Headlines screamed, "American lawyer tied to 30-year child trafficking conspiracy." Foreign journalists broadcast what U.S. media couldn't. Interpol opened investigations. Parents of missing children protested outside Sterling's D.C. offices. But even as his empire burned, Sterling made one final move. Alexander's phone rang, a video call. On screen was a private jet interior, marble floors gleaming under soft lights. Across from Richmond Sterling sat Emma Blackwood, Zara's twin, grown and elegant, yet eerily familiar. She looked like Zara, but polished by privilege, perfect hair, expensive clothes, flawless posture. "Hello, Alexander," Sterling said smoothly. "I thought you'd like to see your other daughter before I leave the country." Emma looked confused. "Daddy, who is this man? Why does he say I'm his father?" Alexander's breath caught. "Emma, sweetheart." Sterling smiled coldly. "She believes you abandoned her, Alexander. She thinks you threw her away." "That's not true," Alexander cried. But Emma's response was sharp and rehearsed. "Daddy told me everything. How you didn't want me. How you left me because I reminded you of Mother's death." Zara's heart broke watching her twin defend their captor. Sterling leaned closer to the camera. "The plane leaves in 30 minutes. By tomorrow, she'll be in Prague. You'll never see either daughter again. Unless," he added, "you come alone. Trade yourself for Emma." Alexander clenched his jaw. "One life for two," he whispered. Before he could answer, Zara snatched the phone. "Emma, look at your left wrist," she shouted. Emma blinked, startled, then lifted her arm. A diamond bracelet hid a faint crescent-shaped scar, the same one Zara had. "You have the same mark I do," Zara said, showing her own wrist. "We got them the same day, in the same accident, because we're twins." "That's ridiculous," Emma said, voice trembling. "Daddy, tell her." But something shifted in her eyes. The way Zara spoke, the scar, the echo of her own voice, doubt was creeping in. "Emma," Zara said softly, "do you remember dreams about a garden, a fountain, a man singing lullabies?" Emma froze. "How? How could you know that?" Sterling cut in sharply. "Childhood fantasies. Ignore her." But Emma's hand went to her necklace, a gold pendant she'd worn her whole life. "It has an inscription," Zara said gently. "Two hearts, one soul. Our mother's words." Emma's breath caught. She turned the pendant over, the same engraving. "You're lying," she whispered, but tears glistened in her eyes. Alexander's voice broke through. "I used to sing you both to sleep, somewhere over the rainbow. You always wanted the verse about bluebirds." Memories broke through the walls Sterling had built. The garden, the music, the warmth of a father's voice. "No," Emma cried. "That can't be real." Sterling's mask cracked. "Don't listen to them. They're manipulating you." "That explain the scar," Emma said, standing. "Explain the dreams. Explain why she knows things I never told anyone." Sterling's face hardened. "Because you were property," he hissed. "Commodities must sometimes be relocated." Emma stared at him in horror. "You monster." He pulled a gun from his jacket, but Emma moved faster. 20 years of fencing and martial arts lessons turned against him. She kicked the pistol away and ran for the door. Outside, Alexander's team surrounded the jet. His private security moved with precision, neutralizing Sterling's guards one by one. Moments later, Alexander stepped into the cabin. Emma turned and saw him, truly saw him, and the life finally shattered. She ran into his arms. "I remember," she sobbed. "The songs, the garden, everything." Rodriguez and Zara climbed aboard seconds later, helping restrain Sterling. FBI agents swarmed in behind them. For the first time in 20 years, both sisters stood side by side. Identical faces, identical scars, two halves made whole again. Rodriguez's voice was calm but firm. "We need to move. Sterling's allies will come after you." As federal marshals led the disgraced lawyer away, he spat his final threat. "This isn't over. The network is bigger than you think." Alexander looked at his daughters. "Maybe," he said quietly, "but it ends today." 2 years later, the Blackwood Foundation buzzed with energy. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked over Manhattan's skyline, but inside, the walls were covered with photos of reunited families minus 847 recoveries since Sterling's fall. Zara stood in front of them, holding a cup of coffee. "The Morrison family called," Emma said, handing her another. "They found their daughter in Romania. She's coming home." Their bond had grown through therapy, laughter, and tears, rebuilding 20 lost years. Alexander joined them by the window, smiling softly. "Congressional testimony starts in an hour," he reminded. The Sterling trials had consumed 2 years. Sterling died in custody, officially a heart attack, though many suspected silencing. But his empire's collapse led to the biggest corruption investigation in U.S. history. 47 officials indicted. 2 Supreme Court justices forced to resign. Congress passed the Sterling Protection Act, creating a real-time federal missing children database, strict adoption oversight, and life sentences for traffickers. Emma testified first, describing Sterling's manipulation in chilling detail. "For 20 years, I believed my father abandoned me," she told Congress. "But truth is stronger than lies, and love is stronger than fear." Zara followed, her voice steady. "I survived because I believed someone was looking for me. No child should have to survive alone." Applause filled the hearing room. That evening, at a press conference outside the Capitol, Zara spoke again. 2 years ago, I was a waitress who didn't know her real name. Today, I've helped reunite nearly 1,000 families. Evil tried to destroy us, but it failed. Even David Miller, frail but redeemed, took the stage. "I can't undo what I did," he said, "but I'll spend the rest of my life helping bring children home." His information helped trace Sterling's offshore accounts, funding the foundation's global operations. That night, the Blackwood family returned to their estate. The same gardens, the same fountain, but laughter replaced the ghosts of the past. Alexander walked between his daughters, pride softening his voice. 20 years ago, I lost everything. Today, I have more than I ever dreamed." Zara smiled. "We didn't just find each other. We found our purpose." The camera panned across blooming roses and shining water as the sisters stood beside their father, gazing toward a brighter future. Because even in the darkest stories, love survives, and sometimes, the very pain meant to break us becomes the reason we rise again. Have you ever wondered what invisible threads connect us through impossible odds? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And stay tuned for more incredible true stories of justice, hope, and reunion.